Right, we're definitely recording this time, Phil.
We're
Welcome
on.
to podcast 2.5 of the
Yeah,
SEOtesting.com podcast, because I forgot to press record previously.
yeah. We had a good chat though.
We did, yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah,
Shared some real nuggets of wisdom for everybody that they won't ever get to hear.
yeah.
Never mind. So, Phil, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. On countdown, 2 weeks-ish to due date. At least determined it's not going to be on the due date. So
Yeah.
just see how it's all going. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, very good. So it's 2 weeks since we did the last podcast, so I think we're going to try and stick to a 2-week or fortnightly cadence. Obviously, as you've mentioned, you're going to be disappearing for a little while, which is all good. And so I'll probably look to get some other SEO people, see if I can do some interviews just to keep the podcast ticking along while you're busy changing nappies and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2 weeks, I think, gives us enough time to achieve something to be able to talk about and get stuff done. So
Yeah, definitely. Shall I tell you what I've been up to? Well, you know what I've been up to.
Go for it. Yeah.
Tell everyone else what I've been up to. So one of the things I've been looking at is when tests finish. So just being able to let people know via email that your test has completed. Obviously, people can choose their durations. And one of the questions we get, actually, it's probably worth mentioning in the Slack channel, is you obviously say 2, 4, or 6 weeks by default. But on the second screen, you can change your own durations on there. So I thought I might as well add to that because I've seen that come up a few times. But what we've
have you put some text on that page? Have you saying that?
No, but we should do. We should.
I was just thinking that when I was going through thinking about what have we done this week and looking in GitHub, I was like, yeah, we do need to add some text saying those dates are configurable.
Yeah, because people do have different dates they want to put in there. But when we've been adding in this email notification, we had the conversation about, okay, can we look at a potential extension point of maybe not just emails? Could people be notified in different ways? I know we're both Slack users, but yeah, could we hook into other ecosystems at some point so people have feedback and ideas there? That might be useful, but that's kind of some point in the future. For split tests, we've also added a finish now button. So obviously you can put in a duration, but you can have an ongoing split test. So now you have the ability to finish that once you've collated the data that you need. And then back on working with the Chrome extension, so taking the reports from I can't remember how many are this. Can you remember off the top of your head how many reports you've got, Nick?
No, can't, honestly.
There's a lot, but they're now within the extension, so easy access to those. So when you're on a particular page, it can take you straight into those reports. Also, the page details report. So if you're on a current page that's in your account, it'll take you straight into that. So again, just trying to make the kind of stronger link here and make it easier to access this information in context. So it's going really well on there. Lots of really good feedback that we've had, and also seen some of the great reviews coming in. So anybody that wants to review it, then we'd love to have one of those on there. Just get the word out about the extension. How about yourself,
definitely. Well, I'll go through some of the stuff that you're talking about then, because I can give a bit of history in terms of why things are done certain ways, I guess. This is for you as much as for everyone else, I guess. So the continuous split tests is interesting. So they're not quite continuous. Within the database, we need to set an end date for the test, but I think we set it somewhere like 3 years or 5 years in advance. So it might as well be continuous. And if someone still wants their test to run, because we now send an alert saying your test is finished, if somebody gets in touch and said, actually, I don't want this to finish, we can always extend it in 3 years' time. But it's interesting. They came around, these continuous split tests came around as much as a hack to try and achieve something. So before content groups were around, and even group tests in SEO testing, people just wanted to be able to track a bunch of URLs over a long period of time. And so this was kind of the hack to do it. I was like, well, you can use a split test. Just put all the URLs that you want to track in one group, the test group, for example, and just put some other random URL, perhaps the home URL within the opposite group, and then you can track it over a long period of time. So it's interesting. What would probably be a good idea, actually, now we've got content groups, is perhaps to ask people who are using the continuous split tests whether they still want them or not.
That's still valuable.
They use up resources and processing time and updating time, obviously, whenever Search Console updates. So it'll be interesting to find out whether people are still using them. But yeah, obviously there was a continuous test in theory, it's a continuous test anyway. And some people wanted, well, even some people who are running a test just for 6 weeks wanted to stop them prematurely, not delete them, just stop them from running. And so we've now added a stop button in there, which is quite a good thing.
Yeah, so you've just reminded me of something else we added, which is the URL validation. So when people are adding in a bunch of URLs, just to make sure that there's not some characters that are in there that are going to break stuff, there's a little message that will just pop up.
That's not live yet. I checked before we did the podcast. I haven't uploaded that yet, so I'm going away for a couple of days as well. So I'm not going to make it live while I'm away.
That's the top rule.
Well, we did a deploy on Friday, didn't we? And you're never supposed to deploy on Friday, and but that seemed to go generally okay. Have you found it? Because obviously going through the split tests and adding alerts into, say, when tests are finished and so on, how did you find working through the code? The spaghetti code, that some of it's 4 years old. So
it's interesting. You can see how some of it has organically grown over time. So kind of the single tests from the switch test, you can see kind of how this has developed within the code itself. But it's complex in there. You can see, but I think the general flow of everything is fine. So kind of go, right, this is a new bit of code or functionality. Where can we hook it in? And I know we've talked about it a lot. Don't change too much else in there. Just go in and get the job done. And kind of what's interesting about the product, and you mentioned before about kind of the product management side of it, because go, okay, just do the bit that benefits the users here. Don't worry about that, because that's not going to impact anybody. That's just going to do something under the hood that's not going to help improve. But it's fine. It's what I really like is where we can go with it and the extension points. I know we've obviously worked together before. We can talk about the code. We're not precious about what we write. I think the worry is when people have ego attached to the code, and I know you've not. You just want it to work for your customers, which is what it should be happening. I know I have the ability to go complex and perfect, and actually just get it done is where we're at. So we bounce off each other well for that.
It's interesting you say that, but I have found it hard, like handing it over to someone else. In terms of not writing the code, from a couple of points of view, because the code is something like I've always enjoyed writing code myself. So I kind of still want to write code. A nervous point of view, because having just been building a product and no one else looking over it for the past 4 years, and like suggesting maybe you should do it this way or that way. It's just like my point of view of doing stuff. So nervous in terms of like someone else looking over it and saying, why on earth has he done it that way or this way? And then also it's kind of like at the moment, I kind of, I don't want to claim it's any kind of product management, because it's just sometimes like one line of text saying, hey, do this, hey, do that, add this validation or do that. There's no like product management document or spec or anything like that, is there? But from a product management point of view, and a coding involved at the moment, all I'm doing is well, not all I'm doing, but I'm doing a lot of testing, I guess. And whereas previously I would write the code and then test it, right now all I'm doing is the testing side of things, which isn't quite so much fun. So I'm hoping as you kind of get to learn the product more, and perhaps you even have more unit testing and stuff like that, that will reduce the need of me spending my time doing that. But
there's still parts of the system that I don't quite know how they're linked together, which is where your eyes across it going, oh, actually, have you checked this bit as well, because it's connected. But I suppose that's the power of what SEO testing does. It's all this information doing smart stuff with this data, so it needs to be connected cleverly. It's just doing that in the smartest way we can.
And kind of like you said, I've said to you a couple of times, and I know as you're looking through code, you're looking at it going, this can be refactored to be better or whatever. But as I've said to you, let's just focus on, let's just fix the bit or touch the bit of code that we need to touch to get something done. Definitely there's things that can be refactored later, but they're separate tasks within themselves. And so let's save the refactoring. Sometimes you're gonna have to look at code and just say that's terrible and just move past it.
It's terrible,
just
but
leave
it
it for the way it is. All right, don't you don't have to agree with me.
No, but yes.
So there's separate tasks that we've got within Todoist of like refactor the keyword tracking, for example, because that just takes too long to check each keyword, and so we'll have chances to refactor code coming down on specific tasks. So,
yeah, but it's one of those things where we don't have people knocking at the door going, it's taking too long to process my updates. It does it very well for the amount that it's crunching, and yeah, you don't necessarily have to go in and start changing everything. If we save 500 milliseconds here and there, people won't really care about that now.
Well, it's interesting you say that. So we don't directly have people saying it's not processing data quick enough, but people are saying, can I bulk upload keywords to track? And my answer to them right now is you can't, but that's kind of by design, because it's taken so long to process each keyword. I don't want you bulk uploading 10,000 keywords to track. And so until we get that code refactored and running a lot quicker, then we can add bulk uploading of keywords to track. So not directly, we're not getting that feedback, but I guess indirectly. And from our own point of view as well, I guess this is a similar kind of thing from a scalability point of view. If we know that a process is taking too long to run, we're going to come across scalability issues at some kind of point when we've got so many customers. If it's taking longer than a 24-hour period to run to update all the sites that I've got as customers, we're kind of hit a doorstop then that we need to fix. And there's been a few cases where like split tests have been refactored to run a lot quicker, but even they could be improved. But that was a case there where split tests were taking like hours and hours to run. So yeah, it's all good fun though. You don't want to prematurely scale, do you? So we've got, but we want to do it at the right time, I guess.
No, I suppose it's a bit like SEO tests. You want to kind of measure stuff. I suppose now's the point we could possibly be measuring stuff and go, and actually, once some numbers start changing, we go, maybe we need to look at refactoring that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, cool. So yeah, it's been it's still an interesting ongoing process for me, kind of moving on from doing everything to try and separate the role. So I kind of scribbled down what I'm up to at the moment. So I've got 3 things going on really, which is support. So answering all the email questions that come in around not just product support, but subscriptions and sales and that kind of stuff. So it's a good mixture of everything. Marketing. So I'm trying to figure out what marketing is going to be going forwards. We'll perhaps talk about that in a second. Yeah. And then the product management side of things are kind of really, again, this is from a historical point of view. Like I know what customers have been asking for over the last 12 months. And whilst a lot of it is in Todoist, kind of try and take the Basecamp approach where if one person asks for something, we'll say yes and just bear it in the back of our mind. And it's when 3 or 4 people have asked for something, that's when it kind of makes it onto Todoist. And that's when we kind of try and schedule something in. So yeah, it's all good. January's been really good actually in terms of sales.
I was going to ask, has it picked up again?
Yeah, massively. So November was quiet, December was quiet. In December, on the 12th of December, I think it was, we changed the trial. So by default, the trial is just 14 days. And it means anything from the 10th, say, for example, 10th of December, the trial would have expired on Christmas Eve. And then following onwards, people's trials would have expired between Christmas and New Year. So I didn't particularly want to be dealing with subscription questions and all that kind of stuff in between Christmas and New Year. And people would have been off in the majority anyway, and not seen their trial expiring and so on. So from the 10th of December or the 12th, we just automatically extended everyone's trial to the 12th of January. So we knew from the 10th of December or 12th, whichever it was, that it was just we weren't going to get any sales generally across that period because nobody's trials were going to be expiring and so on. But then as soon as we got into January, even from like the first working day back, subscriptions started to flow back in again, which was really good, new subscriptions. And then once we hit the 12th, we started to see, I wouldn't say a landslide, but
it's picking back up again.
It's picked up massively. It's probably gearing up to be the 2nd best month that we've had for SEO testing.
That's good.
The number 1 best month is August at the moment, and that's because we said we were going to increase our prices at the end of August.
So people panicked.
Everybody rushed to lock in their cheaper pricing, which is good. So
fair enough.
Fair enough. So it's been good to see new customers coming in and so on. So.
I've got a trial question I just thought of. When people sign up for the trial, what's the first thing that they tend to do? Does it vary, or do they straight into split tests, reports, or?
Oh, Phil, now you've got me. So
sorry.
So well, like probably within the last couple of months of last year, there is some app logging in there now, so we do log what people do within the application. So we weren't I wasn't doing anything previously to that, and so the data's there now as to what people are doing and how they're using the application, and so we can do some analysis on it. But in terms of giving you a hard answer right now, I wouldn't be able to say. Well, I suspect people are. The quickest route to seeing value, there's two ways within the tool. One is to go in and look at the reports and run some of the reports. So we have the content quality report, the missing queries and the title and meta description and top queries and so on. But those need to be requested at the moment as well. So one of the ideas is to, first of all, automatically request those reports on behalf of people when they add a new site in.
That's a nice idea, yeah.
And the second thing is to build a scheduler type thing so that we run those reports automatically for people, perhaps once every month or once a quarter, so they continue to come back in and check them. So one thing is, the kind of route to success or route to a yay moment is running those reports. And then the second one is running a test. But obviously, if you're doing a test that you've started today, it's going to take 2 weeks for a result or data to completely flow in from a test period. So the best way for people to see a yay moment is to run a back test. So to run a test on something they changed 3 months ago, so that you've already got the 2 weeks control period and the 2 weeks test period, and they can see the results straight away or within a couple of minutes, 10 minutes maybe of it processing. So
I suppose that would then help them plan forward then, wasn't it? If they know what it can do looking from a historical one, then they go, oh, actually, now I know how to think going forwards.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we need to do some work onboarding wise. So in a number of places within the application, when you sign in or when you register, and perhaps you go to the SEO testing section, it's a bit of a blank screen because there's no tests listed. You haven't created any yet. There's just a create test button. And so we need to do something from an onboarding point of view of how to encourage people. It's either like a video or an empty state with, some not dummy data, but a screenshot of what it would look like and things like that. Almost every screen within the application we need to go through and work on it. And that's part of the marketing thing that I'm going to be focusing on. So, Did that answer your question? It was like, what
no, I was
you need to analyze it.
I was just interested to see, because people come in and go, cool, it's the now what. And obviously most people, by the time they've come to SEO testing, they already have an idea. They're doing SEO testing. They know why they need it. So it's not like they just decided they'll try this tool out. There's a need. But I was just wondering where people head first of all.
Yeah, well, we made funnily enough, a really small improvement on the Launchpad where we've added View Dashboard, that button.
Yeah.
And so on people's Launchpads, you can have multiple sites added from Search Console, and it has the sites listed, a graph of clicks per day, and then the URL at the top of each one. And you need to click on that URL to go into the site's dashboard to then be able to view all the reports, do tests, all that kind of stuff. But as soon as you register, you only add your first site. You've only got one site on that Launchpad, and so it's just got a URL. And I've kind of known this in the back of my mind because I tried to solve it. So people weren't realizing that they need to click on the URL to go into that individual site's dashboard and then be able to do more with their site.
Yeah.
And so when people first register, by working out with a query string that says new customer or something like that, there is a little pop-up video, which you probably haven't seen if you haven't tried the tool from a registration point of view for a while, which is me talking like this, saying, hey, thanks for trying out SEO testing. You need to click on this URL to go into your site's dashboard and so on. And so I kind of known it's been a problem, but I've just left it as that video, hoping it would solve that problem and let people know what they got to do.
Yeah.
Until we had an email come through saying, oh, where are all my reports? I can just see this one graph with clicks per day. I'm like, well, someone else suggested it, I think, in an email. Let's add just a button saying view site, or I think we've gone with view dashboard in the end.
Yeah.
And so people now specifically know they click on this button as well as the URL link to view the dashboard. And the funny thing is, which I find really funny, is I always click on the button now instead of the URL.
I do as well. Yeah. It's just kind of where your eyes naturally go, don't they? Really.
I know, and it's something so simple that, from a usability point of view, if we'd have added it 12 months ago, We could have had a lot more people successfully going in, because I don't know how many people registered, added a site, looked at it and gone, oh, that's just one graph of clicks per day. That's no good to me. And they've never come back. So that's sad thinking that might have happened. But hey ho,
it's in there now.
It is. Yeah.
But it's one of those things where when you're working on it so much, you kind of get used to the quirks in it, and you kind of know you work around it. And then sometimes when somebody comes from fresh and you go, oh, I'm stuck here, what do I do? You go, oh, maybe we need to make that clearer.
Yes. Yeah. That's where kind of the user testing and the videos of people trying to use your app is useful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which again, we've never done. Maybe we should consider. But yeah. So what have I done marketing wise? I've been working on my SEO experiments article. So I've done a first draft of that. Started working through it and editing it yesterday. So hopefully you'll get that published soon. Hopefully by the end of the week. We sent out an email newsletter about the Chrome extension. So we released, I think, the heading stuff over Christmas. But then we obviously wanted to wait until people were back into work before letting people know about it. So I think that was the first kind of big promotion we've done about the Chrome extension, isn't it? Outside of Slack channel, maybe on Twitter as well. But yeah, so everyone in the newsletter database got an email newsletter about the Chrome extension, so that's good. And going forwards, I just need to kind of come up with a content plan to work to. So that's what my big challenge is for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's fun. It's finding out where to talk and what to talk about and stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I've kind of got the objective, which is to hit a certain monthly recurring revenue goal. I might as well say it on here. So, I worked out from where we are right now, if we do 10% growth per month, we'll get to $30,000 monthly recurring revenue by the end of the year. So we haven't hit 10% previously over the last 12 months every month. And so I've gone with that as being our stretch goal. So 30,000 is our stretch goal for this year. If we do 5% a month, which is achievable, what we've kind of achieved, I think 6% was our lowest last year, which was December. So 5% should be achievable, I think. That would put us at $18,000 monthly recurring revenue. So our lower goal is 18, our stretch goal is 30. So that's the objective. A strategy of how we're going to kind of achieve this or go for this is with product-led growth. So that then leads us to look at the various channels that would include. And so SEO is kind of top of that, making use of social, partner, marketing. I've got more written down on here. So yeah, newsletters, sponsoring, communities. So I kind of know what the tactics are we're going to use. I just need to kind of work out how we're going to execute on each of those tactics and channels now, put together a plan for each one, and then get on with it.
Do you have any information about where most people come from who end up purchasing?
Yes. So Google is number one right now.
Okay. Kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Word of mouth, which isn't a particularly useful channel in terms of working it out, because that can go across socials as well as, personal recommendations on a video call or something like that. Word of mouth was number two. And then it was broken down into Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook groups, things like that.
How about things like YouTube when people do a drop-in mention or something like that? Do you see a spike when something like that goes out?
Do, and things like YouTube, they pay back over a long period of time as well. So I've done I did a chat with Justin Jackson a long time ago, probably maybe 2 years ago, year and a half ago. He just had some SEO questions, funnily enough, and he said, "Oh, do you mind if I record it?" And I was like, "No, go for it." So it went up on YouTube, and still even now people find it every now and again and will come through and try the product from that. So putting stuff out there like this and interviews and podcasts with other people, they do keep paying back over a period of time, which is really, really useful.
Yeah, because I think my behavior's changed when I'm looking for a product. I tend to go to YouTube now and just see what it's like, see people talking about it, rather than just a wall of text.
Well, it's about reusing content as well. So as part of our content strategy, obviously we're doing this as a podcast, but we're going to put it on YouTube eventually. over the next week or so. Once I've got my plan in place, we'll get it transcribed and we'll get the transcription put on our blog, and where we mention a particular thing like the Chrome extension, we'll link off to the Chrome extension and so on. So it's about us creating content, creating useful things, and reusing those over as many different channels as we can. So again, one thing I want to do is be able to, hopefully, if we say something decent that we can cut down to a 30-second clip or a 1-minute clip, we can then take segments of these chats and put them on Twitter as little mini segments that will hopefully be usable and useful as well. So
and it's always the challenge, isn't it, with time stuff like this, where you kind of go, that would be great, but if it takes you 2 hours to get 30 seconds, and this is where some of the tools help with going, right, automatically splice your video up or something. It's as long as you're getting the return, you do it. Yeah,
definitely. And so the last thing for me to mention really is I did a Crawling Mondays interview yesterday with Aleda Solis and Emily Blunt from Search Pilot. So we did a episode on SEO testing, which was really good. I was really nervous about it actually, because I don't know why. I've not spoken to Aleda before, so I've exchanged lots of emails with her back and forth because we've sponsored the newsletter before, SEO FOMO, which you should definitely subscribe to. And it was on a topic, SEO testing, that I should know really, really well. But Emily was also on the call, who's a real expert at SEO testing. So I really prepared for it and had this big sheet of notes that I stuck under my monitor with some blue tack and so on. So I think it went all right. Hopefully it went well. And that should be out within the next week or so. So that'll be another artifact that's up on YouTube about SEO testing that we appear on. So that'll be useful again over a long period of time and hopefully useful for everyone.
Yeah, that's good. I think I saw your picture of your notes that you put up on your Twitter feed.
Yeah,
notes for that one.
They're quite useful just by themselves, the notes, aren't they? So I thought they were anyway. But as I like anything that like this, it's just nice to have the memories of the things that we've done as well. To look back on time, look through your own Twitter feed and go, I did that interview with Aleda and Emily. Oh, it's Emily Porter. Porter. I don't know what Emily Blunt. Emily Potter from Search Pilot. So anyway, going back, it's just nice to have these feeds and be able to look back at the things you've done and stuff like that. So
sounds good.
Very good. Anything else?
I think that's it from me. Just I'm carrying on with the extension, looking forward to get another release out fairly soon. And then just doing the small bits and pieces to make it look good until I'm out for a little while.
Fantastic. Get some sleep in now while you can as well. That's my suggestion.
Yeah. I think I'm enjoying not going to bed too early yet, but we shall see.
Good. All right. Speak to you soon again then, Phill. Take care.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Cheers.